What's up everybody, this is Jose from Southern Life. On today's video, we're going to talk about 10 places that really hate our YouTube channel. The first place that really hated our YouTube channel was Lehigh Acres, Florida. So when I actually had to move here because it's the only affordable place in Southwest Florida, you can bet that I had some concerns. Regardless, I get nothing but love in the community and everywhere I go. So while back home in Southwest Florida, I have no problems with speaking my mind, some of these other places are not going to be as merciful towards me. So while it's all love here at home, these 10 towns that we're going to talk about want nothing to do with me. And on this video, I'm going to explain to you why these places really dislike our YouTube channel. So number one, the absolute most dangerous place for me to go is Uniontown, Alabama. This town did not like what I had to say. This was the first time that I did a video in Alabama of a really bad place. And coming from Florida, I had no idea how people in Alabama politic and what things you can and cannot say in Alabama and how those things would be taken by the audience. So despite Uniontown being one of the most racist places in the United States, they actually labeled me a racist, and I actually had to end up on a talk show called Portia Takes on the Black Belt to explain to the people of Uniontown that I'm not racist. Clearly this town is in horrible condition, and for some reason they had a hard time listening to the truth from the perspective of an outsider. Only 2,000 people live here, but my video got 37,000 views. Judging by some of the comments we had to delete, I'm not welcome here. Number 2 is Tyler, Texas. This is a town that realtors were trying to shove down Californians' throats, but when I went there and I saw how crappy this town was, I gave people a warning that maybe this town was being sold as more than what it really was, and this really hurt the opinions of realtors and other people that were trying to push this town. So they got on a talk show called The Canoe, and these people put me on the radio, blasting my video and making all types of harassment claims against us. These people really are bullies, so I went all the way back to Tyler, Texas to make a troll type video, and I went back another time to make a hoods video where I showed the absolute worst parts of the city, and then they really didn't like me. They still keep publishing articles making fun of our credibility. Moving on to number 3, Irontown, Ohio. This is one of the ugliest places I've ever seen exploring America, and I did not hold back from giving you guys my honest opinion about why I thought this place really sucked. To add insult to injury, I also mentioned liking Michigan, which is a sports team they really dislike. I guess my honest opinion about what I thought about their town was brutally difficult for these people to swallow, and I can guarantee you that if I ever went back to Irontown, I would have to be really careful. Emotions were hurt, and I can guarantee you that these people did not like what I had to say about their town that's clearly in rough condition. It's interesting that a lot of these towns that really hate me, it's just because I said my opinion, the honest truth. And these towns are in really bad shape. Like number 4, Charleston, West Virginia. I did not like this town, and I did not hold back from sharing the horrible experiences that I dealt with in my brief period in West Virginia. We had a really bad experience here, or actually several on this short trip, and I did not hold back from venting on what our trip in West Virginia was like during this video. And also, the town is in such bad condition that I thought the whole town was the hood, and apparently that hurt some emotions. Clearly, we're not welcome in Charleston, West Virginia. This place is really the rear end of America, and if I never have to step foot here again, I'm perfectly okay with that, since they don't even have decent hotels or accommodations for a world-renowned traveler like myself. A lot of these towns are in Appalachia. Seems like me and Appalachia don't get along very well. But let's take it to the deep, dirty South. Number 5 is Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The first time I came here, I had a bad experience. The second time I came here, I had a bad experience. Came back for a third time, and it was even worse. However, on my last trip to Baton Rouge, I tried to kind of find a connection with the people there, and just like a lot of these other towns, some of the local media picked up our video and had some nasty things to say about our channel, which usually blows up our videos and makes me a crap load of money, so I'm perfectly fine with that. Thankfully, our last trip to Louisiana and Baton Rouge was a huge success. We're picking up a huge following in this part of the country, and we're starting to heal some of these wounds, and a lot of the locals agree that my opinions about their town, while hurtful, were definitely not false and very accurate. Moving on to number 6, Titusville, Florida. And just like Baton Rouge, our first trip here was a huge bash, with people hating it, local media picking up the story, and a lot of people in this town not liking us. However, after several trips where we actually trolled the second time around and said even stupider things and try to sound even dumber, but after a while the local media and the local people figured out that you're just trolling their town because the initial video was huge, so you keep going back and trying to make it sound even worse. After a while, it doesn't matter how bad you get, the people realize that they're being trolled, and like by the 4th or 5th video in a town, it goes from "we really hate you" to "ha, this is hilarious, this guy keeps coming back to our town, we figured it out, you're not going to get an emotional reaction from us anymore." And then you start to actually grow an audience in that area, and that's where we're at with Titusville. Number 7 is Coleman, Alabama. The scenario here was different. We actually went there and made a really nice video about this town. However, hundreds of people came to the video to say that it was a horrible town and that it was a sundown town and that it still is that way. So we went back and made another video in Coleman where I didn't accuse the town of being anything bad. I just asked them questions because, again, I made a beautiful video about their town. The comment section basically got flooded with hate. So I go back and make another video there. And in that video, we had some really nasty replies. And it seems like the people of Coleman did not like that I came back to ask questions based off of those comments. And again, my initial video, I liked the town the first time I saw it. It was just the comments we got, I had to go back and ask questions. And sadly, their answers were not apologetic. Number 8 is Cairo, Illinois, located in one of the most isolated parts of the country. Geographically, this is like the middle of nowhere, with no good hotels or accommodations for hundreds of miles. For a cross-country traveler to get caught out here at night is a nightmare. This town has some of the worst statistics in the country, but apparently the locals might not know how to read. Because despite having some of the worst statistics in the country, and several documentary filmmakers coming here to talk about what the crap is going on in this town, the people here seem to be in La La Land, thinking that they live in a normal town with normal circumstances. The locals, they really think this is normal. Abandoned buildings, extremely dangerous crime rates, this is all normal for them. They're either unaware or completely in denial that their town sucks. Moving on to number 9, Denver, Colorado. Now, I had a great time in Denver, and we picked up a huge following from this trip, and I can't wait to go back to Denver. However, I realized that the people in the western side of the country have a more humanitarian approach to dealing with homeless people. Me living in the deep south, we are very blunt about how we feel about this sort of lifestyle. And while this is a protected species out west, My opinions and views on homelessness coming from the region of the country that I live in was more than offensive to some of the sensitive folks living in this part of the country. So we got Billy from rural Alabama, and he's going to tell you guys how people in his part of the country would deal with this situation.
I tell you what, got that burn barrel down there, got that forest fire down there, got that hurricane down there, get that figured that out right, no problem, man. We can get that figured out, there ain't no bits and buts down there. You're gonna find them by the rib down there, about that float away down there, dang old. Got that gator in the swamp too, man. We can take care of that, man. We ain't got, you can come on down by there, I tell you what. Gonna find a real nice warm place for you down there by that dang furnace down there, that dang ironwork plate down there, dang old car accident down there, dang old fell in the swamp down there. Good old thing can happen to you, man. Just gone with the wind down there.
We just have a different view on this situation here in the South than they do out West. Therefore, they were really offended at me, and I was called backwards and all types of 18th century stuff. Ironic, since it's usually the other way around. Weird place. Moving on to number 10, Ashland, Kentucky. Now, there were many contenders for the number 10 spot. Several other cities could have made this list, so you better be thankful, Ashland, Kentucky. Y'all to be thankful you were in my thoughts, Ashland, Kentucky, since other towns wanted this award and you got it. This town really did not like my honest opinions. In my head, Ashland, Kentucky was all these old historic homes and beautiful places. And when I got there and saw how crappy this town was, I did not hold back from venting my frustration on how horribly overrated this town was and how crappy the city was and how I had big expectations for their town and they let me down, and you bet that they don't like me either. Somehow the people living here actually think it's a nice town. Not sure how they got to that conclusion. Maybe they haven't traveled since the 1800s. You're probably wondering why Birmingham and Montgomery did not make this list. It is true that a small percentage of the viewers in Birmingham and Montgomery absolutely hated what we did, and they even tried to hurt us. But the vast majority of people from Birmingham and Montgomery actually love our videos, and we have a huge following from both of these Alabama cities. The fact that some people in this area didn't like us doesn't take away the merit of the hundreds and thousands of people that watch our videos from Birmingham and Montgomery. And honestly, they're a huge core support for our channel, even a year after we moved away from Alabama. We're looking at towns that proportionately most people there didn't like what we did. And when you look at Montgomery and Birmingham, not only did they like what we did, they also follow our channel and they're a huge part of our team. There's still months where 10 to 15% of our audience is people from this part of the country. So it wouldn't be fair to all the good people of Birmingham and Alabama who love our channel, love our content, and support us. Considering that there's so many people that like our channel here, there's no way these two cities were going to make this list. And even Baton Rouge, I've considered taking it off the list because really we're growing in that area, we're picking up an audience, and they're starting to understand what we do. So it's not so much that I don't like these places, it's just the reception and how they take in our opinions about the towns. There's even several towns on this list that I love going to. I feel like initially our reception in these towns is really bad when they first get to hear our opinion, but if we keep coming back to the town and making more videos, we start to grow an understanding of each other, and we actually get a huge fan base from these types of cities. And I think that happened in Birmingham, it happened in Montgomery, it happened in Baton Rouge. I would say for sure Uniontown, Alabama is a place I'll never go back to, because despite the fact that we were even on a talk show that's local, that was like an hour long where we got to talk to people, there was even one local old guy who said something along the lines of, did he lie or did he say something about the people that was evil or malintentioned? And the old guy, the OG, was like, hey, he didn't say nothing bad about the people. And the things he said were all true. It's not like he lied. It's interesting how the old man was able to pick up on the fact that I really didn't say anything bad about Uniontown, and I really didn't. I just said the roads are in bad condition. That's not a lie. There's a lot of potholes. That's not a lie. There's a lot of poverty. That's not a lie. Everything that I said was true. What was wrong wasn't even what I said. It was the way the people perceived my content and the reasons why they thought I was doing the video. In other words, they didn't listen to what I said. They had a preconceived notion about who they thought I was, and then they used that to judge what I said. Being that people today don't tend to think for themselves, they let their preconceived notions already make decisions for them. And even when they're living in horrible conditions, they cannot see what's wrong with them. They're still pointing a finger at other people and failing to notice what's wrong with them. I travel all across America, and 90% of our travels are very enjoyable. It's only a small percentage of towns that I get ticked off at, and it usually starts with lack of amenities for travelers. That's why usually even places like New Orleans, where the people can be a little bit hostile to outsiders, or the place can be a little bit dangerous, there's so much attention to tourists, good restaurants, good food, good culture, that even though the place is dangerous, tourists still flock there and love to go there because there's so much essence to the place. New Orleans is the perfect example of a place that is dangerous and sometimes hostile to outsiders, but their food, their culture, and their accommodations are so exceedingly good that people are willing to go there even if they're overpriced, because they feel like even though they're not exactly in an environment that's safe, there's so much to offer in the place that people are still going to go there and love to go there despite all the place's downfalls. So in that sense, some of these small towns are even worse because they have nothing to offer. But once you go to New Orleans, Miami, Atlanta, Nashville, Chicago, New York, you kind of have to start having an expectation of what you expect from a place. So it's hard for your little town in West Virginia with one bed bug in to impress a traveler that likes to go to places like New York. Then you have comments like, we don't have high crime like these big cities. I'm like, yeah, you also don't have hotels, good restaurants, or any type of entertainment or attractions. Sometimes you're very narrow-minded and you lack seeing the big picture when you're from one place and don't travel. That's why when I left Naples, Florida and moved to Alabama, it was so difficult for me to acclimate because everything that I knew was just this little bubble that I lived in Florida for 20 years. But now that we've been able to travel and see like 28 different states in 1 year, you start to have a bigger understanding of the world. If you're able to travel, you should definitely do it. The first time I went to New York City, it was scary, it was overwhelming, but now I actually look back to seeing it again. And that's kind of how our YouTube channel can appear to some people. The first time they see it, it was scary, it was uncomfortable, but after seeing it 3 or 4 times, they actually start to like it and actually start to enjoy it. So sometimes your initial reaction can be a little bit wrong or misleading. You just feel uncomfortable because what you're experiencing isn't something you're used to. Alright guys, that's today's video. I hope you guys liked it. Is there a place you've been wanting us to see for a good reason or a bad reason? Let us know in the comments, and maybe someday we'll take the time out of our lives to make a video there.
Good old thing can happen to you, man.